Hi everybody, it's Mr. McDonough at the library. So I'm outside the library now. I wanted to show you something before we do our story time. Miss Kayla and I have some stories for you. But first I wanted to show you the windows we have at the library. So you can see this from outside. The whole building has lights all over it, but I wanted to show you our Lego holiday stuff. So this first window is a Hogwarts holiday. So you see that this is all Harry Potter from the Harry Potter stories, which a lot of you are familiar with. So this is Hogwarts Castle, and there's going to be a train. Hogwarts Express is there, and a lot of characters are around. So that's the first window. And then I'm going to take you to the second window, which is really special because this is the window that kids are helping me make. So this is a very Yeti holiday. So I have kids making me Yetis right now and we're putting them in the window. So you can see there's Colson's. His is a Yeti on wheels. And up there is Lucas's. Oh, it fell back a little bit. I have to fix that. And there's a train. And there's another Yeti right there. Did you see the Yeti? I don't think you see it. All right, and then over here are a bunch more Yetis from my friends. See? There. So it's a Yeti Winter Festival. So we're going to be taking Yetis from, if you want to make us a Yeti, you can make them, about this size. You can make them white or any other colors. I have a couple more coming in that are rainbow Yetis. So if you want to make me a Lego Yeti, just bring it to the library. Email us at galefreekids@gmail.com. And we'll come downstairs and we'll get it from you when the library's open. And I'll put it in the window. So this is going to be up all during January. We're going to keep adding to it until it gets crazy. So if you have any Yetis, bring them. All right, so we're going to go inside now and I'm going to read you a story. Okay, and then after I read you a story, Kayla's good. Miss Kayla's going to read you a story. So 2 stories. I'll see you in a minute. Hi everybody, it's Mr. McDonough back in the building. I'm here with my friend Polar Bear. Hi, Polar Bear. He was in our story a couple weeks ago. He's hanging out in the room with me in our library. So I'm going to read you my favorite Christmas story of all time. Well, second favorite. Grinch is my first favorite, so this is my second favorite. How Murray Saved Christmas by Mike Reiss. It's a little crazy. Are you ready? 'Twas the night before Christmas, and at the North Pole, Santa was rocking and ready to roll. His seatbelt was buckled, his reindeer were fed, and 5 billion toys were stuffed into his sled. There were dolls that said mama, and dolls that said goo, dolls that made music, and dolls that made poo. There were dolls that grew tall at the push of a button, and a doll, best of all, that didn't do nothing. He revved up his reindeer, about to take off, when all of a sudden he heard a small cough. Santa, ahem, could I have your attention? It was Edison Elf with his latest invention. Now, Edison thought of himself as a tinkerer, but as a tinkerer, he was sort of a stinkerer. My Jack-in-the-Box belongs on your list. It's a Jack-in-the-Box with a fabulous twist. So Santa tried it, and oh, what a trick! A boxing glove popped out and knocked out Saint Nick. Oops. He bobbled, his face turned bright red. A lump like a sugar plum rose from his head. Santa, cried Eddie. But Santa said, glibble, I'm perfectly schnibble, and started to dribble. Ed dressed him in jammies and put him to bed and worried just who would bring presents instead. Then a card fluttered down out of Santa's right mitten, and on it, in round golden letters, was written, for special delivery, call Murray Kleiner, owner of Murray K's Holiday Diner. Oh, look at the rabbit lamp. Now, Santa and all of the holiday bunch would come into Murray's for breakfast or lunch. You might see George Washington eating and drinking on President's Day with Abraham Lincoln. Cupid loved bagels, the groundhog the chili. The Thanksgiving turkey would stuff himself silly. And how, might you wonder, did Santa get fat? Just thank Murray's chocolate chip cheesecake for that. Look, there's the Easter Bunny, there's Jack-o'-lantern, there's Washington and Lincoln. Silly. But lunchtime was past. It was Christmas Eve. Murray had closed and was ready to leave when Ed parked the sleigh and he hollered to Murray, I need a delivery and I'm in a big hurry. Murray said, I can make you whatever you wish, a nice piece of fish or a spinach knish. But who are you, Shorty? And where is St. Nick? And now Edison sobbed, I made Santa Claus sick. And now I need you to deliver some toys to 200 countries to good girls and boys. Just put on this red suit and get in the sleigh. What? Are you cuckoo? Cried Murray. No way. Give me one reason to schlep through the snow. Bringing billions of presents to kids, I don't know. Will anyone pay me? Will anyone tip? What if I slip and I fracture my hip? Look out the window. It's cold and it's shivery. Why in the world should I make this delivery? Because it's Christmas, said Ed. Look at his little eyes. He's looking like, oh, please. Christmas, you know, is that one special season where people do good things without a good reason. The grouchiest men will wear musical ties and buy Christmas presents for folks they despise. The cheapest of cheapskates will spend all his money, and people make fruitcakes from concrete and honey. That's a joke for grown-ups because most of us think fruitcakes are really heavy and gross. But maybe you've had a good one, so don't listen to me. I'm just a grown-up. Christmas works magic, and Edison knew it. But you're not playing fair, Murray grumped. But I'll do it. Murray put on the suit. The belly was baggy, the shoulders were saggy, the bottom was draggy. I'm fat, Murray said, but it seems Santa's fatter. The caboose is quite loose, but I guess it won't matter. And then they hopped in the sleigh, which sped off like a comet, causing Murray to holler, slow down or I'll vomit. I've just got one rule, but Shorty, it's basic. If you go too fast, then I'm bound to get sleigh sick. Sleigh sick. Get it? That's so silly. They made their first stop, Eddie fearing the worst. Murray fell down the chimney and landed tush first. He didn't come back till 2:15, when Eddie cried, Murray, what happened to you? Murray shrugged. By the fireplace, kids hung up socks, so I loaded the socks with bagels and lox. They went to the next house. It didn't go better. Murray got bit by a big Irish setter. He stepped on a turtle in house number 3. At house number 4, he knocked over the tree. Oops. I'm old and I'm cold and this suit doesn't fit. If this next stop goes badly, said Murray, I quit. The elf couldn't blame him. Poor Murray had tried. You're going to do great, little Edison lied. Murray jumped down the chimney and landed so hard, the thud knocked the snow off the trees in the yard. He got to his feet with an oof and an oi, and he found himself facing a 6-year-old boy. The boy exclaimed, Santa! And Murray said, where? Oh, all right, you mean me. Yes, I'm Santa, I swear. Get a load of this laugh, ho, 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 Murray chuckled. But just as he chuckled, his belt came unbuckled, and his pants, which were loose, went down straight past his knees. Murray Kleiner was stitched on his silk BVDs. See, on his underwear, Murray Kleiner. The boy looked perplexed. So he said, please explain why you and your underpants have different names. Betrayed by his boxers, let down by his pants, Murray knew a good story would be his best chance. So he said, Murray Kleiner's a famous designer. Calvin Klein may be fine, see, but Kleiner is finer. Are you sure you're Santa? You don't have a beard. Your suit is all baggy. You smell kind of weird. I shaved off the beard. Mrs. Claus says it tickles. And I went on a diet, club soda and pickles. That should explain why I'm beardless and bellyless. The pickles would also account for my smelliness. So there, I've explained, I've made everything clear. Then the boy asked him to name his reindeer. Murray hemmed and he hawed. He did not know this stuff. So he huffed and he puffed and he proceeded to bluff. There's Dumbo and Jumbo and Mason and Dixon, Cosmo and Kramer and Richard M. Nixon. Murray looked at him hopefully. How did I do? You're a fake, cried the boy. I guess Santa is too. Murray said, there's a Santa, and I've got the proof. They went out on the lawn and looked up on the roof. That's Santa's sleigh sitting there in the snow. There's the toys and the reindeers whose names I don't know. Oh, Santa is real, kid. It's wrestling that's fake. And that's when the boy knew he'd made a mistake. This wasn't just some smelly guy in a suit, but an honest-to-goodness St. Nick substitute. And when the boy smiled, Murray felt a strange tingle. He knew for one night that he could be Kris Kringle. Ho, 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 Murray laughed, and he patted his head. And he fixed him a lean pastrami sandwich with coleslaw and a triple thick chocolate milkshake, and sent him to bed. Then Edison asked if he still felt like quitting. Quitting, cried Murray. You gotta be kidding. Enough of that talk. We got toys to deliver. We can't sit around like two lumps of chopped liver. From Nome down to Rome and from Omsk to Atlanta, they handed out presents more quickly than Santa. You did a great job, Eddie said, and he smiled. Tonight you brought presents to every good child. Let's not stop, Murray said. We have time. We have toys. Why can't we bring them to bad girls and boys? So a kid might be lazy. He might be a slob. He drives his folks crazy. That's sort of his job. Ed heard what he said, and he couldn't resist. They brought toys to the naughty, a very long list. A toboggan for Ogden, who played sick from school and drove his dad's Pontiac into the pool. Oh, my. For Brooke, a good book, since she broke the TV, the VCR, PC, and every CD. And then a jet plane for Dwayne, a mischievous fellow, who filled the girls' toilets with blueberry jello. Murray brought presents to all not-so-good kids, the rude and the crude and the misunderstood kids. And people said Christmas was never so pleasant as that year when all of the world got a present. Murray said, well, there's nothing for us in this sack. So he gave Ed a hug, and Ed gave him one back. You know, you're a nice guy, said Edison Elf. Thanks, Murray said. You're not half bad yourself. On Lipstick, on Dipstick, on Pixie and Dixie, on Cramden and Norton and Alice and Trixie. And Edison said, as they rode out of sight, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. The end. Isn't that story great? Yes, it is great, isn't it? Well, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. I hope you've been having a great month. I hope you get out in the snow and play, and we'll see you soon, okay? Bye.
Hey, library friends, it's Miss Kayla here. I'm going to take these glasses off. If you couldn't tell, I like to dress up for the holidays. So I'm happy to see you here again this week. I'm going to read one of my absolute most favorite Christmas stories today, and it is Mr. Willowby's Christmas Tree. This is by Robert Barry. And if you didn't know, Mr. Willowby's Christmas Tree is actually a older story. I had a different book than this when I was a kid. I had the one that was originally published in the 1960s. That was actually my mom's book. So this is a story that's been around for quite a while. So we'll get started. Mr. Willowby's Christmas Tree. See? It's always good to look at the end papers. That's where the title is, because you can see up here, we have our little woodcutter guy up here. It looks like he just chopped down the tree, and then you have this truck, and it has the Christmas tree on it, and it actually says special delivery. So this is where our story actually begins. So here we go. Mr. Willowby's Christmas tree came by special delivery. Full and fresh and glistening green, the biggest tree he had ever seen. He dashed downstairs to open the door. This was the moment he waited for. A magnificent tree. Splendid, he cried. Please, sir, won't you carry it right inside? I think it might look best this year, right in the parlor corner, here. But once the tree stood in its place, Mr. Willowby made a terrible face. The tree touched the ceiling, then bent like a bow. Oh, good heavens, he gasped. Something must go. Baxter the butler was called on in haste to chop off the top, though it seemed quite a waste. That's great, Mr. Willowby cried with glee. Now we can start to trim my tree. When the trimming was well underway, the top was placed on a silver tray. Baxter said, I know just who'd be delighted with this Christmas tree. So it was presented to Miss Adelaide, Mr. Willowby's upstairs maid. So there goes the top, right up to Miss Adelaide. Won't this tree be a pretty sight when I have trimmed it later tonight? But the top, oh dear, I'm so afraid. Will have to be cut, sighed Miss Adelaide. And so with scissors sharp and long, she snipped off the top while she hummed a song. The top was set out the very next day in the back of the house to be thrown away. That little treetop caught the eye of Tim, the gardener, passing by. He certainly was not about to see that little tree thrown out. He hurried home straight away to see what Mrs. Tim would say. Fa la la, surprise, surprise. His wife could not believe her eyes. But our house, she said, it's so snug and small, I do not believe we need it at all. And before Tim had a chance to shout, she cut off the top and threw it out. Barnaby Bear was padding by. It almost hit him in the eye. Now, who would throw a tree away so very close to Christmas Day? I'll take it home. That's what I'll do. Look, Mama Bear, I have a present for you. Now little bear is taking it home. Isn't it a pretty tree? Yawned Barnaby, quite drowsily. But Little Bear, standing off afar, cried out, That tree won't hold a star! Barnaby said, Let's cut a hunk off the bottom here at the trunk. But Mama Bear just shook her head and sliced the treetop off instead. Jolly by golly, Barnaby said with a kick. Mama, that surely is just the right trick. Let's trim it with bells and honey rings, some berries and tinsel, and popcorn on strings. Mama said trim it just as you like. I've got to tidy up for the night. This top we won't need anymore. I'll just put it outside the door. Later on that frosty night, Frisky Fox came into sight. He spied the treetop, rubbed his chin, opened his sack, and stuffed the top in. He scampered home and jumped his gate. This Christmas present couldn't wait. It's even better than mincemeat pie, said Mrs. Fox with a happy sigh. Then the foxes saw that their Christmas prize was just a wee bit oversized. There, my dears, don't you worry. I'll fix this top now in a hurry. Benjamin Rabbit found it then, just outside the fox's den. It seems, he thought, most certainly Santa left that for my family. Look, he cried, see the tree I found. With that he called his family round. Then there was a merrymaking, rollicking, frolicking, carrot shaking. Celebration around the tree, all were happy as rabbits can be. Benjamin Rabbit, with his own hand, sliced a carrot and made a stand. Now let's see how this will look in our little chimney nook. But right away the children said, look, it's leaning off to one side. It's too tall, that's all, said Mrs. Rabbit. And as though it were a summer carrot, she gave it a chop and threw it away. The top. Then Mistletoe Mouse just happened to see that tiny tip of a Christmas tree. He pulled it through the snow and ice, up some stairs. He fell down twice. At last he reached his cozy house. It's just the right size, said Mrs. Mouse. Then at the top, if you please, they put a star made out of cheese. Oh, wasn't it grand to have a tree? Exactly like Mr. Willowby. See the mouse down here? They have the top of the tree that started with Mr. Willowby. I really like that story, how the treetop keeps going down to each of the animals and then it ends up back in Mr. Willowby's house again. So, happy holidays, bye!